The story begins with a conference going on among the highest-ranking people of the Knights of Schwarz, which is a unit built to fight the Demon King's army, but now is recognized as an order. Sitting among them is our frail and fragile protagonist, Joshua, who raises his voice against his childhood friend, Logue, who's now the commander and the hero of the Knights. One day, things get even worse for Joshua when he raises his voice against his childhood friend, Logue, who's now the commander and the hero of the Knights. Logue plans to go up against humans instead of the demons so he can bank on their weakened state after fighting the Demon King's army and steal their territories, but Joshua raises his voice against him and tells him to come back to his senses. Logue mistakes Joshua's advice for disrespect and bursts out on him like an overgrown man-child. Joshua begs his friend to come to his senses and focus on the Demon King's army instead of fighting against humans. But instead of listening, Logue, drunk on power, tells him that the Order doesn't need him anymore and accuses his tools of being the sole cause of their defeat in the war against the demons. Being humiliated by his very own friend in front of all the members, Joshua cannot believe his ears and asks if he really doesn't need him. Logue's answer leaves our poor, crafty mage frozen in shock as memories of the good old days rush back, when Logue used to praise his creations. Heartbroken, he quietly leaves the place and sets off toward the southern front line, hoping to find work in the war against the demons. The only skill he truly knows is crafting almost anything from the extra dimension, as long as he can gather the right materials. With no one by his side, his pet slime Wiz remains his only companion because, unlike some childhood friends, at least Wiz won't stab him in the back. Walking through the vast emptiness, he stumbles upon his future wife, a weary yet stunning maiden, whose clothes are stained with blood. Rushing to her aid, he quickly realizes she is a demi-human who is being hunted down by ruthless slave traders looking to make easy money. Joshua steps forward, taking the stance of a true hero, but the hunters dismiss him as a nobody because of his NPC-looking dumb face and charge without hesitation. To their complete shock, Joshua activates his absorption magic and yeets all their weapons into his extra dimension in an instant. He then uses his crafting magic to turn the weapons into steel arrows, which pierce through the hunters, taking them down in an instant. The injured maiden, watching everything, blushes as she thanks him, but the pain becomes too much, and she drops to her knees. Seeing her condition, our hero quickly casts his warm and gentle healing magic to ease her wounds. He tells her that the injury on her stomach might reopen and offers to help with it. After getting her approval, he swiftly crafts a cloth and carefully wraps it around her wound. Feeling a little more comfortable, the lady introduces herself as Ilia and reveals that she is a demi-human. Joshua does not flinch or show any concern. Instead, he introduces himself and offers to take her to her home. The young lady accepts the offer, and Joshua swiftly lifts her up in her arms, making her blush even harder. Before heading off, he quickly uses his absorption magic to retrieve all the loot from the hunters and starts walking away. Curious about his ability, Ilia asks him about it, and he takes a moment to explain. After some time, the two arrive at Ilia's village. Standing at the entrance, a demi-human named Met suddenly attacks Joshua with a spear only because he's a human. But Ilia stops the attack and explains that Joshua saved her life. As more demon guards surround him, Joshua carefully sets Ilia down and raises his hands, making it clear he has no intention of fighting. He apologizes to her and quickly turns to leave. But before he can take a step, Ilia grabs his arm and stops him. All of a sudden, a young demi-human comes running and shouts that one of their own has been stabbed while trying to take on an armored boar. The mood instantly shifts as everyone knows how dangerous these beasts are. Joshua is well aware that even a single armored boar usually takes at least 10 human hunters to bring down. In a hurry, Ilia asks Joshua to wait inside the village, promising to return the favor later, but he once again offers his help. Wasting no time, they rush to the scene and find a wounded demi-human gasping for air, barely hanging on. Through strained breaths, the man apologizes, admitting he took the risk because his family was starving and he had no other choice. Seeing the wounded, Joshua sits beside him and asks Wiz for a part of his slimy body to craft a powerful potion that instantly patches the demi-human's wound. The moment it is applied, a near-fatal wound heals completely, as if by miracle. The demi-human villagers, stunned by this healing, instantly see Joshua in a new light, treating him like some kind of holy figure. Ilia feels overjoyed and wonders how she could ever repay him, but Joshua tells her not to worry about it and asks her to rest as well since she's still not fully recovered. Suddenly, Ilya feels lightheaded and orders Met to keep Joshua from leaving before going in to rest. Met thanks Joshua and stops him from leaving, insisting that the chief's orders are absolute. Joshua asks her if it's okay for a human to stay in their village, to which she replies that they absolutely hate smelly humans, but he is an exception because he saved their lives. After that, she starts begging him to teach her magic, even going as far as offering her horn and soul with tears in her eyes. Before the waterworks get out of hand, Joshua calmly explains that he's never had formal training to teach them any magic, but he can craft tools for them instead. This makes Met really happy, and she quickly takes him to the village's weapon house. As Joshua examines them, he notices that the demi-humans only have primitive weapons and rely mainly on melee combat. Taking that into account, he decides to craft some crossbows for them and explains that it's a weapon everyone can use from safety. With this, Joshua activates his crafting magic and makes a fancy crossbow, surprising the demi-human. Met calls his magic a divine blessing, but Joshua corrects her and explains that it is simply his production magic. To demonstrate how the weapon functions, he takes her to an open field, where a single well-placed shot at a distant target leaves her in shock. He then begins training her, and Met quickly gets the hang of it, successfully landing 5 out of 10 shots in a row. Bursting with confidence, she starts bragging like an overexcited kid, claiming she can master any weapon, thanks to the crest of Asura. Joshua thinks that he has never heard of such a crest and recalls the Swordmaster crest, which grants insane blade skills, and wonders if the Asura crest is something unique to demi-humans. After that, he asks Met what she uses to fight normally and creates a cool iron mace for her after hearing her answer, boosting her morale even more. With their weapons ready, the two head out for the hunt. Upon arriving at the location, Joshua spots a wild boar, enjoying its meal, and instructs Met to take aim. Following his command, she fires the crossbow, bringing the creature down with a single shot. Fueled by excitement, Met continues hunting, and after taking down her third target, she shouts in triumph. Joshua asks her to keep it down, but unfortunately, it is too late, as an armored boar joins the party. Met blames herself for the mess and urges our hero to run, but Joshua casually mentions that he used to hunt similar beasts as a kid with his childhood friend. He then lays out a plan and tells her to smack the creature's head with her new weapon while he keeps it busy, assuring her that the beast is as dumb as a rock. Without wasting a second, Joshua activates his magic, sending a flurry of sandy rocks into the creature's eyes. Moving in perfect sync, Met swings her mace with all her might, smashing its head and dropping it on the spot. As the beast lies lifeless, she bursts into tears of joy and tells Joshua how amazing his weapons were. Her heartfelt words make Joshua pause for a moment as he wonders when was the last time someone appreciated him this much. Seeing the villagers cherish his creations fills him with a rare sense of pride, and without a second thought, he promises to craft even more goods for them. The scene shifts to our duo returning to the village with their catch, which leaves Ilya feeling so indebted that she now believes she can never repay Joshua. He notices her unease and quickly reassures her by offering to stay in exchange for making tools for them. As night falls, the village comes together for a giant feast in order to celebrate the hunt. Being super tired, Joshua falls asleep, and when he wakes up in the morning, he finds both Ilya and Met waiting to greet him in bed. Before it gets too sus, Joshua shifts the topic and says that he will start the day by making new weapons for them. All the villagers catch wind of the news and gather at the village hall. Joshua prepares a large batch of weapons and lets the villagers test them out. However, he notices that Met ends up breaking the bows easily, which makes him wonder if the weapon is not suitable for them. But then Joshua notices Ilya holding one of them with a perfect stance. Realizing that she has seen it used before, he quickly crafts an arrow and asks her to try it out. Ilya demonstrates flawless execution, leaving Joshua speechless as he remarks that she might have a thing or two for archery. Unable to contain his excitement, he drops a stack of arrows on her to practice with in her spare time. But he doesn't stop there. After tickling Met with wind magic to measure her 3 sizes, he then crafts a simple yet sturdy armor for Met. Joshua tells them that it is strong enough to withstand even the sharp horns of a boar. Eager to make even more things with better materials, he asks the chief if there are any sturdy trees nearby. Without hesitation, Ilya leads him to a grove of iron teaks. Joshua recalls them being so tough that even steel axes can barely make a dent in them and suggests searching for something else, But Ilya simply raises her axe and, with a single swing, chops down the iron tree, making her idol Chuck Norris proud. The spectacle leaves Joshua's jaw hanging while Ilya gives him a proud grin. The villagers cheer for her while Ilya boasts that it's all thanks to Joshua's axe. He starts wondering if demi-humans possess far greater muscle power than humans, because even cutting down ordinary trees with such a basic axe is no joke. Within mere minutes, Ilya and the villagers present our hero with a massive stack of iron teaks. After cutting them all down, Ilya questions how they are supposed to transport such heavy logs. Joshua simply absorbs all of them in an instant, which leaves the lady in sheer awe. She then gets curious and asks Joshua what he is planning on making next. Our boy explains that he would like to make a sturdy fence for their protection, but Ilya seems unfamiliar with the concept. To demonstrate, Joshua takes her to the village, and after discussing an ideal location, he begins by constructing an archer tower on a nearby hill. After he poofs a massive tower into existence, she's amazed by how quickly he erected such a big thing. He then takes her up, and while they enjoy the breathtaking view, Joshua explains that by stationing someone here, they could easily spot and alert others of any approaching danger. Joshua then asks Ilya to gather him some stones and leaves everyone frozen in shock as he uses them to raise a massive wall along with several more archer towers in the village. With their village protected from danger, the demi-humans quickly prepare for another feast. Met personally cooks a delicious meal for Joshua, and as they eat, the conversation drifts to how she learned to cook from her parents. This eventually leads her to talk about the previous chief and the devastating orc invasion that struck the village 10 years ago. Hearing about it, Joshua recalls it as the war that humans lost, but he never imagined that demi-humans had suffered just as much as humans during that time. Met goes on with her story and explains that the giant orcs seemed particularly interested in their horns. Their village chief had attempted to negotiate a truce, but the orcs broke their word and went on a rampage. Ilya became their target because her horns were uniquely rare even among their own kind. One day, while playing outside, Met threw a stone at one of the orcs, but as mere children, she was powerless. The orcs easily overpowered them and tore Ilya's horn straight from her head. Her agonized screams brought her parents rushing in to protect them, and buying just enough time for the girls to escape. That was the last time Met could ever see her parents. After that, their former chief went alone to face the orcs and returned, barely clinging to life. With his final breaths, he returned Ilya's horn and passed on the duty of the village chief to Ilya. Met then points toward a hill to show Joshua the chief's grave, but to her surprise, she finds a watchtower standing there over the grave. Confused, she asks why he built it on that spot, to which Joshua explains that Ilya had allowed it. As they talk about her, they begin to wonder where she has run off to. Met confidently states that Ilya is most likely practicing with the bow Joshua made for her. She describes how tirelessly Ilya trains, dedicating herself to keeping everyone safe. Joshua asks about Ilya's crest and learns that it is called Hanya. Met explains the nature of Ilya's crest, describing it as one of gentleness and healing. She believes this perfectly mirrors their chief's selfless nature, as Ilya cares for them so deeply that she often puts herself in harm's way, even acting as a decoy to protect them from danger. Because of this, Met feels an immense desire to grow stronger, determined to one day return the favor. As Joshua listens, he enjoys his meal and assures her of his support. But before he can fully process the moment, an unexpected announcement catches him completely off guard. With boundless energy and without seeking any approval, Met boldly declares her marriage to him. Joshua immediately objects, insisting that there is no need for such a decision just to make him stay, especially since he has already planned to remain in the village for a while. Ilya, with her eyes widening in shock, instantly rushes in and erupts with fury at Met, berating him for taking things this far. When Met questions whether she also wants Joshua to leave, Ilya, completely flustered and drenched in sweat, boldly proclaims that she will be the one to marry him instead. With this, a heated argument breaks out between the two, with each determined to claim the role of Joshua's bride. Seizing the chance, Joshua activates full stealth mode and slips away as quietly as a greasy gamer sneaking to the fridge at 3 a.m. By the time Ilya and Met realize he's gone, he's already in bed and safe from the chaotic family drama. At the village border, Ilya wonders about his plans for the day, and he answers that he wants to fix the miserable state of her backwater village. Noticing the puzzled look on their faces, he asks the ladies whether they know of any place with shiny brown rocks or raw iron. Ilya replies that she hasn't really seen anything like that in the nearby forest, but she recalls seeing such rocks in the Aster Cave. Joshua questions how they'll get there, to which Ilya replies that no one has ventured there in ages due to the bats. Following that, she offers to guide him, but Met quickly clings to him, insisting that she should be the one to go since the chief shouldn't risk herself. Our hero agrees that everyone would worry about Ilya, and after seeing Met's glistening eyes, Ilya reluctantly steps back and bids them farewell. Later that day, the duo reaches the Aster Cave with their nerves on edge as eerie sounds echo from within. Met gets pumped up and moves toward the entrance, but Joshua stops her and points out that the bats inside could give her rabies. Joshua hands her a torch and tells her to yeet it inside. But something weird happens. The torch is instantly put out, making the two wonder if there's a pond inside. Just to be safe, they hide out in the bushes when, all of a sudden, a massive glob of diarrhea comes crawling out like a Dark Souls boss. Joshua quickly recognizes that it's a dust slime, which is a nasty mutant that gobbles up anything in sight. Hearing him say it's nothing too dangerous, Met whips out her spear and claims that she'll easily take it down, while bragging that she doesn't need Ilya's backup. But the instant she slashes into the slime, it casually absorbs her weapon. The moment she stabs into the slime, it effortlessly absorbs her weapon. Met refuses to let go of the spear Joshua crafted for her, and the slime spits her out with great force. Joshua instantly summons a magic shield to catch her and conjures a massive pillar beneath the slime to stall it while carrying the muscle-brained girl as useless as Sakuta in a princess hold. Noticing how much he worries about her, Met offers an apology, but the slime homing in from behind doesn't give Joshua a chance to breathe. He considers putting her down to fight it himself when suddenly, a familiar face appears and steals the dust slime's attention. Ilya charges in like Zorro, blasting the slime to smithereens with the sheer force of her sword. Taken aback by her brute approach, Joshua wonders just how much she's swung his katana to reach such strength. Shortly after, the worried villagers arrive, and Met apologizes for her reckless actions. With the aura of a true chief, Ilya reminds Met that it's her duty to protect everyone, making our teary-eyed musclehead vow that she'll train harder than before. Watching the strange yet heartwarming way the two worry about each other, a warm smile flashes across Joshua's face. Mere seconds later, Ilya starts lecturing Met to stop being a baka and listen when she's told to stay put. Joshua tries to cheer her up, saying that he was also at fault. After she tells Met to get some rest, Joshua celebrates that now they can mine all night with the dust slime gone. Ilya gets curious and asks what Joshua plans to do with the resources, leading him to excitedly yap about how shock-proof dust slime armor is and its giant magic crystal can make powerful enchanted weapons. With that settled, Joshua steps into the cave, knowing it's going to be free of danger now that the boss is gone. Inside, they are caught off guard by the sheer number of slimes, one of which mutated into the extra-large poop emoji, but Wiz hops in to have a little chat with his jiggly buddies and clears the way. As the party delves deeper, Joshua is surprised by the sight of the walls shimmering in a stunning purple hue. Pulling out his trusty pickaxe, he takes a swing to investigate, making his eyes nearly pop out when he realizes he's holding the ultra-rare violet iron. Everyone gives him odd looks while our rock nerd goes on about how cool it is, so Ilya translates his yapping that the rare rock is useful. So once Joshua crafts everyone a pickaxe, the villagers join in on the mining, while the slimes help transport the haul outside until a massive pile is stacked up. After a steamy session of mining with Ilya and the others, Joshua heads out to find what looks like a lifetime supply, and gets all giddy imagining all the cool pots and tools he can craft. A villager curiously asks if he can craft weapons as well, to which he replies with a resounding yes. Later that day, as Ilya strolls through the chatting crowd, Joshua calls her over and reveals that he has made something special just for her and hands it to her. He hands her a katana, which she holds high before asking what it's supposed to be. Joshua explains that while he was browsing the library for inspiration, he came across the massive blades once wielded by her ancestors. Ilya then asks why he gave it to her first, so Joshua confesses that it's the perfect weapon for the village's helicopter mom. Ilya gladly accepts the gift and thanks him, when out of nowhere, Met barges in, looking visibly jealous. Met stares death at him and starts whining about wanting one, too, so Joshua promises to make one for her as well. This only makes Ilya feel more indebted to him, but he tells her that he's simply happy to see her sad village thriving. With that settled, he shifts his focus to measures on how to fix a few key issues that need solving. The lack of safety from the wild, the unreliable food supply from hunting, and the lack of crops are pressing concerns, but the most urgent problem is hygiene. While the demihumans shower more often than the losers watching this video, they could really use a proper water source to keep their clothes and surroundings clean and avoid disease. For the sake of his new home, Joshua strengthens his resolve to turn the village into a thriving place in no time. The next day, the entire village is shaken by the sound of howling wolves. Amid the confusion, Joshua instructs Met to prepare everyone for a fight, ensuring that all capable archers gather at the northern border. As the group moves toward the source of the noise, the howls grow even louder. Joshua gets curious and asks Met how many enemies there could be, which she guesses over 100 from their footsteps. Ilya is visibly concerned at first, but as she looks more closely, her expression turns into shock. When everyone looks toward what they thought were attackers, they are speechless to see a pack of werewolves who have abandoned their home. Joshua recalls that werewolves tend to live far from society due to the threat of hunters and asks Ilya about their injuries. She confirms that they were probably attacked by slave hunters and quickly stops Met before she orders the archers to attack. A tiny pup that looks strangely familiar appears, and then it clicks in Joshua's mind that it's the same wolf that Ilya's attackers tried to kidnap. Introducing herself as Merc, the werewolf chief begs for passage through the village, explaining that her people were raided by scummy slave traders. Sympathizing with her fellow chief, Ilya wastes no time in ordering Met to open the gates and allows the weary werewolves inside. Just as their gates close, Joshua is startled by the slaver traders shouting as they approach, but halt in confusion as they spot the fortress in the middle of nowhere. Suspecting they might be holding hostages, Joshua refuses to let the trash army escape and orders Met to command her men to mow them down. The villagers launch their arrows and tear through them, which gets the slave traders panicked as they desperately cry out that they're on the same side, claiming they only came to capture some worthless demi-humans. Without hesitation, Joshua yells that he's not human and demands the immediate release of any hostages. Utterly speechless at the realization that this fortress belongs to demi-humans, the lowlifes try to run away with the werewolf children. Met curses at the cowards, but before Joshua can cook up a plan to catch them, Ilya yeets herself off the wall and flies straight towards the army of NPCs. Before they even react, the chief slices through them like she's playing a bootleg fruit ninja. In a desperate move, one of the slavers grabs a wolf girl, holding her hostage. Ilya offers to let him go if he releases her, which he accepts. But then, another piece of steaming hot garbage behind her says that she better scram or else. Seeing the precious little girl absolutely horrified, Ilya goes ultra instinct and amputates the waste of oxygen. But before she puts him down for good, Joshua's voice snaps her out of it. He yells that she should return before it gets dangerous, and everyone celebrates her brave move. While Joshua stands there drooling over his future wife like a loser, Met takes over and gives orders on how to handle the injured. Merc approaches Ilya and Joshua and surprises the two by repeatedly thanking them along with a formal introduction like an iPod stuck on replay. Ilya tells the good girl to relax and asks where she came from. The little puppy explains that her people lived at the base of a mountain for a long time until the Fire Nation attacked. When Joshua inquires if all the slave traders came after them, Merc reveals that there were many more of the fire mages. Our hero quickly realizes that they'll need stone walls to withstand any future attacks from fire users. Setting that thought aside, he then questions whether they've met before, which the wolfie confirms. Joshua finds this pretty sus and shocks both Met and Ilya by accusing the cheeky little wolf of intentionally dumping the attackers onto them. But instead of denying it, the good girl surprises him by admitting that she only tracked him down by following his musty virgin smell, hoping perhaps our sweaty protagonist could help her. Hearing her beg for their assistance, Ilya gladly offers to fight for the wolves, but Met isn't satisfied and asks what's next. Merc simply asks that they give the werewolves food and shelter temporarily, and in return, they will do whatever the village asks them. She continues that the slave hunters are pretty ruthless, so the demi-humans have to band together to fight them. Met agrees while saying that an enemy's enemy is a friend, so she decides to help them out. Seeing her injuries, Ilya also tells little Merc to rest up well. Later, when she's sleeping soundly, Joshua feels bad for the tired, poor thing and asks Ilya to take a break as well. A villager then arrives while hauling a massive stack of loot scavenged from the fallen enemies. As Joshua examines the armor, his eyes immediately lock onto a familiar emblem, the seal of the Cortesia Company, known for being knee-deep in the kind of illegal activities that make even Diddy look like a Scooby-Doo villain. His worries grow as he realizes that they'll definitely need stronger defenses to deal with the organization and their infamous mages if they wish to avoid the same fate as Merc's people. The next morning, Joshua wakes to find 3 ladies waiting for him instead of 2, with Merc now joining them. As expected from the werewolf tribe, she has shifted from her fluffy wolf form into a demi-human lowly. Joshua leads them to the fence he built, recalling what he learned about the fire mages in the Cortesia Company. Unsure of their true potential, he decides to reinforce the fence to ensure it can withstand their attacks. Thinking of a fire-resistant material, Joshua turns to Merc, who's now back in her wolf form, and asks if she remembers any areas with exposed rocky ground. Merc confirms, asking if he's looking for a rugged and cool place and suggests that he might find something suitable across the Eastern River. Considering the Eastern River is wide and potentially dangerous, Joshua asks if there's another way across instead of having to swim. Met jumps in with a ridiculous suggestion, offering herself as a piggyback ride. Joshua immediately shuts her sad offer for a Magikarp ride down, pointing out that there might be aquatic monsters lurking beneath the surface. Ilya asks if they're really heading to the other side of the river, and when Joshua confirms, Merc volunteers to be their guide for the day. She warns them to stay alert as they might run into some big bad boars along the way. Both Ilya and Met decide to tag along, and Joshua gladly allows it, thinking he could use the extra hands in an unfamiliar place. Before they set off, he crafts a sturdy set of armor for Ilya. Then, turning to Merc, he asks if she can track down a specific type of clay. Wasting no time, Merc sniffs the air, picks up the scent, and leads him straight to the spot. As Joshua starts digging up the clay, Merc curiously asks why he needs it. He simply tells her it's useful, then gives her a quick demonstration by shaping a cup. He explains that it's much sturdier than wooden alternatives. Joshua continues that the material can also be used for crafting tiles and bricks. Handing the task off, he asks Ilya to have the villagers dig up more later. With that settled, he leads the 3 ladies to the riverbank. Upon seeing the river, Ilya comments on how wide it is, but instead of worrying, Joshua begins crafting a series of bridge steps and leaves everyone stunned. With this, not only do they avoid getting soaked, but they also won't have to worry about being swept away by the current. As they walk across, Joshua continuously adds new steps to complete the bridge and showcases his sweaty Fortnite building skills. Curious, he asks Merc how she managed to cross the river before. She explains that to the north, the river narrows enough for her to simply hop across from rock to rock. As the others enjoy the scenery, Joshua notices Merc quietly sniffing the mountain air. He realizes the hardship her people must have endured and briefly wonders if there's something he can do to help. However, he quickly pushes the thought aside, reminding himself that fortifying the wall is the priority for now. Once they cross the river, Merc leads them straight to the kind of place Joshua had requested. With his keen eye, he immediately spots signs of rocks being cut away. Curious, he asks Merc if she's ever encountered anyone here besides the boars. Merc shakes her head, explaining that she rarely visits this area since the monsters are too tough to handle. Meanwhile, Joshua sees no immediate threat and just a few rabbits hopping around. Sensing no danger, he pulls out his legendary drill and gets straight to work, cutting into the rock. To everyone's shock, the moment Joshua starts drilling, the rocks at the center suddenly shift, gathering together to form a massive golem. Joshua freezes at the sight and quickly yells for Ilya to wait, but she's already leaped into action. With a swift slash, Ilya severs the golem's leg, only to watch in disbelief as it regenerates within seconds. Realizing her mistake, she apologizes to Joshua for acting on her own, admitting that her weapon is useless against it. Joshua quickly points to a glowing red stone embedded in the golem's core, explaining that unless they break it, the creature will keep regenerating. Before they can come up with a plan, the golem suddenly launches a barrage of stones at them, forcing everyone to scatter. Joshua quickly comes up with a plan and instructs Met and Ilya to destroy the red stone as soon as he exposes it. After making sure that Merc is safe, he dashes straight toward the golem. Ilya gets worried and calls for him to stop, but he insists that he's the only one who can pull this off. Without hesitation, he activates his absorption magic, explaining that since the golem constantly replenishes its rocks, he'll absorb them at an even faster rate to weaken it. Once he's absorbed enough, he signals the two. Met leaps forward